Welcome to Dr. Bailey's Masterclass, Secrets, Science, and Shell Games of Weight Loss. If you're over 50 and successful in other areas of your life, but you've been struggling with your weight and maybe even considering bariatric surgery, and you'd like to take control of your obesity for good, let me express something to you. I know what it feels like. I understand. I am Dr. David Bailey, a health coach now offering online services. I have over 30 years of experience helping those who are otherwise successful in other areas of their life take control of their metabolism and control of their weight. I changed, and you can too. Here's what I learned from my own transformation. I eventually had bariatric surgery. That experience has taught me many things. I can't share everything with you here, but I will later in a one-on-one setting. But I'll share what I can here and now. And maybe I could help you avoid going through the expense and ordeal of bariatric surgery. Here's what I've learned from my own transformation. Obesity is not your fault. Overcoming obesity is not easy. Overcoming obesity is not without cost. And I mean not just monetary cost, and more about that later on. I also learned to be very suspicious of advice from anyone who has never been obese, and to ask why, after probably more than 100 years of weight loss plans, why is there still today an epidemic of obesity? My goal is to give you some valuable evidence to enable you to understand how to take control. Will it all make sense to you at the end of this 30 to 40 minutes? I don't expect to turn you into obesity science experts, just to equip you with the tools that enable you to judge for yourself what is best for you. Okay, let's get started. Let's explore the why of obesity. What does the science say? Not testimonials, reviews, or fancy TV personality doctor commercials, but published, peer-reviewed, hard science. I don't need to read it to you. You can read it. But I can summarize it that obesity is chronic, relapsing, progressive. Chronic, relapsing, progressive means that it's dangerous, it doesn't quit, and it's fatal. More factors influencing obesity: environment, lifestyle, evolution, imprinted physiological responses before birth and after birth affect the epidemic of obesity. Higher levels of inflammation correlate to higher levels of obesity and other consequential health problems. 2008, epidemic inflammation correlates to epidemic obesity. If you don't fix inflammation, you can't fix obesity. Failure to control or consider inflammation is a major factor in the failure of weight loss programs. This slide shows the standard understanding of obesity: calories in versus calories out. The calories in and calories out theory of obesity is a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of obesity, in my opinion. If you don't understand it, you can't fix it, and that may be responsible for the epidemic of obesity. Coming up next, I'll explain why diets don't work. Everybody understands it, but nobody believes it. As far back as 2005, there was evidence that dietary and lifestyle changes provide less than 10 pounds of weight loss after 2 to 4 years, not what most people are hoping for. Since lifestyle and dietary changes don't provide much hope. Then what about exercise? What does the science show us here? A 2007 study showed that after 12 weeks of supervised aerobic training, the base metabolic rate actually went down. That means the body actually went into a survival mode rather than a weight loss mode. That's seen in the upper set of bar graphs in the circled area. The base metabolic rate actually went down. That reflects the body is in a survival mode rather than a fat loss mode. The lower graph does show reduction in body weight, although most people had a modest change in body weight for the negative, and some people even got heavier. Now, that may be due to the fact that muscle weighs more than fat, but it was probably frustrating for those people after 12 weeks of aerobics. I'm not saying that exercise is bad for you. I'm saying that exercise, as a sole strategy for weight loss, has mixed results and not what you may be expecting. Exercise, of course, has many beneficial effects on the human body to increase health. What about bariatric surgery? Let's explore the good, bad, and ugly of bariatric surgery. As you know, I've had bariatric surgery myself and can tell you firsthand of my experiences. The direct cost of bariatric surgery depends on the type of surgery you're actually having, the surgeon, and the place where the surgery is done. It varies from a low of about $5,000 to a common number of about $10,000 to $25,000. Alcohol abuse and substance abuse are significant unintended consequences of weight loss surgery. Weight loss surgery has a significant increase in the rate of suicide versus non-bariatric surgery patients. You can see here the various other negative side effects of bariatric surgery. So if you're considering bariatric surgery, and I know what you're thinking, I've been there, you tried everything else, you think, what else can I do? Bariatric surgery looks like the supreme opportunity to get thin. But what I'm telling you, based upon the literature, the scientific studies that have been done, it is not all roses and rainbows. There are significant, dangerous side effects. There's a price to pay for bariatric surgery weight loss, and you may not be willing to pay it. If you want to know more, you can talk to me on a one-on-one basis. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. There's more bad news ahead as far as obesity control is concerned. Let's talk about homeostasis. That means keeping all things hard to change, but safe. That's the standard operating procedure of the human body. Homeostasis is a complicated and disturbing subject. Let's talk in detail concerning homeostasis. In 2008, Obesity Journal stated, food intake and energy expenditure are controlled by a complex, redundant, and distributed neural system involving thousands of genes and reflecting the fundamental biological importance of adequate nutrient supply and energy balance. This is a pictorial diagram of This is a partial depiction of the major mechanisms concerning food intake. I don't expect you to get it in one view, but I just want you to see how complicated and interactive and connected this process is. Here's another picture of the mechanisms. Here's a depiction of the neural mechanisms, how the brain and nervous system controls food intake. More depictions of the interactive nature of homeostatic control of food intake. There's even more bad news ahead, if you can believe it. There's even more bad news ahead, if you can believe it. The question is your brain working against your fat loss changes? The brain controls more than you're aware of. Here's how the brain controls obesity. The brains of lean individuals, those never overweight, respond differently to meals than do the brains of obese people, even after the obese people have lost the weight. So basically, you have fat brains, brains that are wired to be fat, and you have skinny brains, that is, brains of people who never were and never will be overweight. This article talks about the brain feeds itself first. The brain will make sure it has energy at the expense of other body systems. It will sabotage you to feed itself. And there's even more bad news. Your environment and your genetics go to defeat your weight loss efforts. What else is against your weight loss efforts? Environment, lifestyle, background, evolutionary changes, engraved, perinatally imprinted physiological responses are against your changing the obesity epidemic. Are we eating more now? Now we have an epidemic? No, we're only eating about the same since 1909. These polyunsaturated fatty acids, or oils from grains, have skyrocketed as a percentage of our diet over time. And I'll remind you that these oils are inflammatory, and keep in mind the inflammatory nature of obesity. So liquid oils promote obesity. Here is that corn sweeteners have skyrocketed since the 1970s. Could that be responsible for the obesity epidemic? Okay, what are we supposed to do? Exercise can make things worse. Diets don't work in the long run. The brain keeps you fat. And even the anti-obesity medications like Ozempic and Jardiance have dangerous side effects. And bariatric surgery has some serious unintended consequences. What are we supposed to do? See the whole picture. Nutrition, hormones, immune function, digestion, detoxification, energy metabolism, and mind-body connection are all related. They all must be considered when you consider engaging in a fat loss program. If you don't consider all these aspects, if you leave one of them out, you're bound to fail. Take advantage of the body's natural ability to regulate energy balance. It'll do it if you give it a chance. You take away the things that harm the ability, and you add things that the body needs to engage that ability. That's my plan. Sounds simple, right? Well, not so simple. Okay. Very complicated. It has been my experience that it is not easy or straightforward. In the beginning, I had amazing successes with the first 10 or so patients. Then, boom, failure after failure. It took years to discover why I failed. That is the process I used in my in-person clinical practice and the individual processes I now use on my online coaching. If this is interesting to you, there's a way you can take advantage through my coaching program. I am offering you the last fat loss program you will ever need, one that works with your body naturally, not one that takes worthless shortcuts that can cause harm. My program is as serious about overcoming obesity as you are. Check out the link to set up a free one-to-one consultation call. Begin your new life. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. David Bailey.